Hey, what's up, guys? Spencer Rhodes here. So, I've seen Avengers Infinity War, and um, I thought it was okay. I kind of have mixed opinions about it. I like Joss Whedon more than the Russo brothers. I know he had a hard time with Avengers, especially Age of Ultron, but I kind of wish that he had stayed and directed both Avengers 3 and Avengers 4, and the Russo brothers had just done, the standalone movies. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a shitload of jokes, and some of them are funny, and they took it a little too far with that, and they killed my favorite character in the first 9 minutes of the movie, who is obviously Loki. I'm a very big Loki fan, and I'm a straight male, so I probably might be the only one that really likes Loki. It seems like a lot of his fans are women. I don't want to generalize anyone, but yeah, he's my favorite character in the whole MCU, and he was the part of the movie that I was most excited about because I had seen the trailer, and the trailer it looked like he was going to do something really significant, and he gets wasted in the first 9 fucking minutes. Trust me, I checked the time. It was 9 minutes into the movie. But there's been this popular theory buzzing around on YouTube. A bunch of people have made videos about this, that Loki might have faked his death. He is a trickster. He is the god of mischief. He's done this thing before. He kind of faked his death in the first Thor movie. He faked his death in Thor 2. He's always tricking other characters and making duplicates of himself. That's how he killed Phil Coulson, and that's how he kept tricking Thor, and that's how he kept tricking other characters. And he seems to have this ability to duplicate himself and make himself look like he's somewhere where he isn't, where he's actually somewhere else. And sometimes it seems like the duplicates of Loki that aren't really him, they're like air, or they're, what would you call it? You can put your hand through them and walk through them, and that's how you know that it's not really him. But there's been a couple of cases where the duplicates, I can't say that fucking word. The duplicates of Loki, I think, were like actually tangible, and he can make it to where he looked like he actually got stabbed, and obviously he can stand on ground. Even if he's a duplicate and it's not the real Loki, they can walk around and everything. So I'm not sure what the exact rules are, if they have to be tangible, because that was a big part of Thor Ragnarok, with Loki, with Thor trying to figure out when Loki was really there, and when he wasn't really there, he would throw rocks through Loki and throw things at Loki, and if they hit Loki, then, or if Loki caught them, then that's the real Loki, and if they went through him, then that's the duplicates. But I'm not sure if that rule always applies, because in Thor 2, he got stabbed by one of the, I don't even know, one of the bad guys. He gets stabbed by them, and then he fakes his death, and he really gets stabbed. There's, I guess, I don't know if that was a duplicate, or if he just made the sword disappear that stabbed him, because he got stabbed in Thor 2, and I think Thor was cradling him in his arms and everything. So I mean, that was Loki that you couldn't just put rocks through. So, and I'm pointing this out because in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos picks up Loki by the neck and breaks his neck. I mean, obviously it's tangible, and if Thanos put his hand through Loki and just put his hand through him, then he would know that it was a duplicate. But I'm wondering if that was a duplicate of Loki, if the Loki that Thanos killed was not the real Loki. And a lot of people are believing this. A lot of people are saying that Loki is disguising himself as Bruce Banner, because that's another one of his abilities. He can pretend to be anyone else. He's like Mystique from X-Men. He can change his shape to look like anything. And a lot of people think that he might have been pretending to be Bruce Banner the whole movie. I'm not sure how I feel about this, because at the beginning of the movie, Hulk fights Thanos, and there's this 2 minutes where they're fighting each other, and we don't see where Loki is. So during that time, Loki might have ran off, and he might have, or he could have been the Hulk when the Hulk was fighting Thanos. Bruce Banner might not have been in the movie at all. There's a bunch of different variations of how that could have worked, but a lot of people think that Loki was disguised as Bruce Banner, because that explains why Bruce Banner never turns into the Hulk. That explains why Bruce Banner kind of, he acts like himself, but there's an argument that could be made that he's just kind of a little funky in the movie. He kind of acts like he acts in Thor Ragnarok. I think it's probably the real Bruce Banner, because I just don't understand why that would be Loki's master plan, to pretend to be Bruce Banner. You know, faking his death is one thing, but pretending to be Bruce Banner, where does that get him? You know, what is his goal, and where would the real Bruce Banner be? And the reason I would say I don't think Loki is disguised as Bruce Banner the whole movie is because when Bruce Banner is in the Hulkbuster, he's talking to himself. He's not really kind of talking to himself. He's talking to the Hulk. He's like, transform into the Hulk, transform, and then Hulk just kind of comes out and just says hell no, then goes back in, and Bruce Banner gets really mad. If that's Loki, then why is he doing that act? Why is he pretending to be Bruce Banner arguing with the Hulk? No one is around, no one is watching him. It would really just be Loki in the Hulkbuster pretending to be Bruce Banner arguing with the Hulk. There's no purpose for that. If Loki was disguised as Bruce Banner, there would be no purpose for him to do that, unless someone can correct me on that. No one was watching him in the machine. No one was around him. He was fighting the army of bad guys, but that's it. The Thanos' army. And there's really just no reason for Loki to do that if he's disguised as Bruce Banner. It'd be different if there's other people around, but yeah, I'm guessing that the Hulk is someone that Loki can't transform into, just because the Hulk is the Hulk and it's different, so Loki can't pretend to be the Hulk. So it makes sense that if he was Bruce Banner, then he wouldn't be turning into the Hulk. But like I said, when Bruce Banner is in the Hulkbuster, he's arguing with the Hulk, and no one's around to watch him. So it does not make sense for Loki to be doing that. And Bruce Banner remembers Natasha, obviously, and is kind of awkward with her. So if Loki did that, he would have had to have known that there was a romance between Natasha and Bruce, and I'm not sure at what point he would know about that. He was pretending to be Odin during the events of Age of Ultron when Natasha's and Bruce's romance first started, and then in Thor Ragnarok, his relationship and his character development was mostly with Thor, not really with Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner was like Thor's sidekick, and Loki was Thor's other sidekick during the movie. Loki didn't have many scenes with any character besides Thor. It's possible that Bruce told him about his romance with Natasha, so then at that moment during Infinity War, Loki knew that in order to pretend to be Bruce Banner, he would have to act awkward around Natasha and act like he still had feelings for her to keep the consistency going. But I don't see it. It raises too many questions. Like, what is Loki's goal in doing this? What is Loki's plan? I mean, what did it involve? Stopping Thanos and stopping him from snapping his fingers? Because that didn't work. All Loki did was fight in the Hulkbuster. If it was really Loki, he probably would have been more badass just being himself, just being Loki. Because Loki is a capable fighter. He's not the best fighter, but he can handle his own at least a little bit. And the Hulkbuster, I mean, it's a cool, but Loki might have just been better off just being himself. And what was his goal? What is his goal in pretending to be Bruce Banner? Is it because he doesn't want to be back on Earth, and he doesn't want people to remember him and his attack on New York and his attacks during the Avengers Does he feel guilt? We knew that in Thor Ragnarok that Loki felt uneasy about going back to Earth because of all the devastation he unleashed on Earth, but pretending to be Bruce Banner, I don't think that would be the solution. I think at that point, no one would care that he's Loki. As long as Loki was a good guy and on their side and willing to help, I don't think they'd be too mad about... I mean, they'd be mad, but they would also accept him. And him pretending to be Bruce Banner, well, then where the hell is Bruce Banner? I mean, we got to have the Hulk at some point. We got to have Bruce Banner at some point. So maybe if Avengers 4 answers those questions, but it just doesn't really make sense. What would Loki's goal be in Avengers Infinity War? What would he be trying to accomplish pretending to be Bruce? Because Thanos won. Thanos got what he wanted at the end of the movie. Now, Bruce Banner survived he's the 50% that didn't die. So that if that was Loki, then obviously he would be in the 50%. But then what? I mean, there's just not a lot of concrete evidence or logic behind Loki pretending to be Bruce Banner. I'd rather him just, if he did fake his death, I'd rather him just fake his death and not be Bruce Banner. I think Bruce Banner should be Bruce Banner in Avengers Infinity War. And maybe Loki just went off and hid somewhere, or he went off and he has a mission. He has a plan that involves stopping Thanos or going back in time. Maybe in Avengers 4, Loki comes up to Thor or Tony Stark or someone is like, hey, I faked my death. I wasn't really dead. Sorry, but I've got this big, complicated plan, and I had to instantly go off and do it. And I was more useful pretending to be dead, so I could go off and do this thing that would stop Thanos. At that point, it would have to involve going back in time, and we know that that's going to be a big part of Avengers 4 is going back in time travel. There's no way all those characters that died are going to stay dead. Spider-Man and Black Panther, I think they both have confirmed sequels. There's no way. They're going to go back in time. The writers, the Russo brothers, have said that Avengers 4, it's untitled, but it will involve time travel. And there's been some set photos. I don't know if they're leaked or not, but there's some... I don't want to divulge spoilers if you're not interested in hearing them, but there's some set photos that imply that time travel is going to be a factor in Avengers 4. So, if Loki did not pretend to be Bruce Banner, and he faked his death at the beginning of the movie, he would have to have some plot or some scheme that involves going back in time and reversing all the deaths. And Thor wouldn't be too mad at him if Loki properly explained himself, because Loki and Thor were on good terms. Thor was sad when Loki died. Loki had truly come around and told Thor that he was Odin's son and that they were brothers, and Loki died, fake or not, he died trying to stop Thanos he died heroically, or attempting to do something heroic, and Thor was upset. It wasn't like he died as a bad guy. So if Loki shows up to Thor and is like, hey, Thor, sorry, I faked my death, but hear me out, I've got this plan that involves time travel, Thor would initially be like, what the fuck? I thought you were dead! We've had this conversation like 10 times, what the fuck? But I think Thor would eventually listen to Loki, and Loki would probably need to talk to Thor first. He would need to talk to Thor first, because Thor would need to sort of have Loki's back and then talk to the other characters like, look, I know my brother did a bunch of shit in the past, but listen to him, he's right, I trust him, he's not a bad guy anymore. And then that way they could move forward and start the time travel stuff. If Loki did fake his death, then I'm hoping that was his plan. But I don't know. That would be badass, and it would be pretty crazy. And I don't know if it contradicts anything that we've seen from him in previous movies. We know that he can duplicate himself. We know that these duplicates can have objects thrown through him, and that he can transform into other people. And apparently he can pretend to get stabbed. So And I think the duplicates can be physically tangible if he wants them to be, or they can just be like see-through, not see-through, but ghosts that you can throw stuff through. I'm not sure what the exact rules are, but if Loki did fake his death, then the Loki that Thanos killed was a duplicate. That Thanos actually broke the duplicate's neck. You know, it was a physical thing that Thanos did, so it wasn't like throwing a rock through Loki. So if that's what happened, that would be really badass, because like I said, I love Loki. He's my favorite character. I love Tom Hiddleston as an actor, and I wish that Loki got more screen time. I was really thinking that, I remember years ago where it was announced that Tom Hiddleston was confirmed for both parts. Back then it was Infinity War Part 1, Part 2, that's what they were considered. And Tom Hiddleston was like one of the first actors that was confirmed for both parts, and I was really excited for that, and I thought that that would be his time to really shine. And then Infinity War, he gets killed at the very start, and yeah, I was disappointed. So if there really is this big complicated conspiracy where he just faked his death, then I support that. I am thrilled and excited, and I just hope that he gets a bigger part in the sequel. I mean, they wouldn't have to try very hard to give him a bigger part. You know, it wouldn't be that difficult to give him more screen time than he did in Infinity War. So if he faked his death, then fine, awesome. Just, I would suggest trying to make it make sense and be consistent with his character and where his character is at this point, which is basically he's a good guy at this point. And that he gets a big role. But if he didn't fake his death, if he really was killed at the beginning of the movie, there is still hope for him to not only be alive, but have a big role in Avengers 4. Because like I said, time travel. It's pretty much been confirmed that he is going to be in the movie. Tom Hiddleston is going to be in Avengers 4 in some capacity. We don't know how much. We don't know if it's just going to be a flashback or if he's going to be brought back from the dead. But we know that someone's going to be brought back from the dead. I guarantee it. I 100% guarantee characters like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, there's no way. They're coming back. They're coming back. They're not going to stay dead. The problem with Loki is that he wasn't killed by Thanos' snap. But then again, neither was Gamora. And Gamora, I don't see her staying dead either. They could go there, but if Gamora can come back, then Loki can come back. They both died before the finger snap. And if time travel is a thing, maybe since Loki was the first one that died in Infinity War, this could actually be a good thing, because he could be the first one that's brought back to life in the sequel. Maybe the big challenge in Avengers 4 is reversing Thanos snapping his finger. Reversing the 50% that died. Maybe bringing someone back that died before that happened is actually easier. So Gamora, Loki, maybe even Vision, those are the three that can be brought back the easiest, or they could be the hardest to bring back. It depends on the writers and what they want to do. But since Loki died so early in Infinity War, and pretty much everyone else got to live to at least halfway into the movie, I hope that they make it up to Loki fans, and that they bring him back first and give him a lot of screen time, because I want Loki to redeem himself even more than he already has. I want Loki to be an Avenger. I've always wanted that. I've always wanted Loki to see the error of his ways and be an Avenger. In Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War, he saw the error of his ways, he repaired his relationship with his brother, and that's the end of his story. I mean, sure, but I was hoping that he got to do more than that. Everyone pretty much still hates him, except for Thor. It doesn't matter what Thor says. It doesn't matter if Thor defends Loki's memory. Tony Stark still hates Loki. Black Widow, Captain America still hate Loki. Bruce Banner and Hulk, they're probably alright. I mean, they did get to kind of hang out in Thor Ragnarok, and Bruce got to really firsthand see Loki change his ways. So it's really just Bruce Banner and Thor. Everyone else is still going to be mad at him about what he did in past movies. So if they bring him back early on in Avengers 4, if he's the first one that gets brought back, then he gets a chance to really, really redeem himself, be a part of the action, fight against Thanos. He could even be like, "You were wrong about the resurrection, motherfucker. I can come back anyway." And maybe he could make amends with the Avengers. I know Hawkeye hated him. Hawkeye despised him because, in case you don't remember, Loki brainwashed Hawkeye into being one of Loki's soldiers. And Hawkeye spent the third act of the Avengers movie, the first one, trying to kill Loki. He specifically wanted to kill Loki in the final battle. He was probably the most pissed off, along with Tony Stark. Tony Stark gave Loki that big speech about how even if you destroy the Earth, you're still not going to win. We're still going to kill you. So a lot of those characters, like Hawkeye, Black Widow, Tony Stark, Captain America, they're still probably really pissed off at Loki for what he did. And I love it if they bring Sif back. I'm kind of a Sif and Loki shipper. So put Sif in there. We don't even know if she died at all. The Russo brothers said that she's dead in some interview, but I don't know. That just kind of seems like a fuck you. Like she's an important character in the first two Thor movies, and I always kind of liked her relationship with Loki. There was a bit of a relationship. If Loki became a good guy, then he might have had a chance with her. So put Sif in the mix. I mean, have Loki make amends with the characters that he had wronged, and that way he can get more character development. Just treat him like Spike. Spike redeemed himself at the end of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and died. That didn't stop him from coming back and developing further. So if they did that with Spike, why can't they do that with Loki? So I don't know if Loki faked his death in Infinity War. I really don't. I'm okay with that if it's explained well and it makes sense and it's in character with Loki and he gets a big part in Avengers 4. That's a lot of ifs, but hey, he's my favorite character and he died at the beginning of Infinity War, so I'm a little salty. So I feel like I have a right to have a list of requests. But if he didn't fake his death, I'm hoping that since he's pretty much the first character to die, that he is the first character that comes back to life, and that he can make amends with the characters that he pissed off in Avengers, the first Avengers, besides Thor and Hulk, because he's on pretty good terms with Thor and Hulk. And that way he could be developed further. We know that Loki didn't really, being the king of Asgard didn't really work out for him. He didn't really become this violent leader that wanted destruction, but he just kind of sat on his ass and was lazy and ate fruit for several years. So it'd be nice to see Loki find another purpose, search for another purpose, and maybe become an Avenger, like his brother, like the other characters, and Loki becoming an Avenger in Avengers 4 would be pretty awesome, and it would be a way to give the character something to do, so that bringing him back can't be called fan service. Because I still think there's more that can be done with Loki. I do not think that everything that could have been done was done with the character. So, do I believe that he faked his death in Infinity War? I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. In fact, I'd say he probably did truly die. If he faked his death, fine, I'm happy. But I'm hoping at least he can be brought back. And that he can be brought back first, and that he gets a lot to do. If they can just do that, then I'll be happy with his role in Avengers 4. Alright, well, with that said, I am Spencer Rhodes, and this is my theory video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Loki faked his death, or do you think that he truly died? And what role do you think he will play in Avengers 4, since Tom Hiddleston is signed on to appear in the film in some capacity? Don't be shy. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going anywhere. We are at 117 subscribers, so please help me get to my goal of 250 subscribers. Anyway, I'm Spencer Rhodes, and I will see you guys later. Bye.